It is indeed a pleasure to have this privilege to play here for you. And we intend to give you a very fine program, so just settle back, relax, and enjoy the moment.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Make sure my mic is, yep. Heading over to Facebook to get things cracking. All right. To also make it public. It's all loud, it's all loud. Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Mic'd Up in the Morning. Good morning, Jessica. I'm going to ask for your consent on some things. Good morning, Nicole. You sent me a lot of information. Hey, Whiskey Neat. Hey, Justin. I saw you, Whiskey Neat. I saw you on Patreon. Thank you. You look like you probably did what I did, Whiskey Neat. Like, you got to budget it. I appreciate you so much. It's so meaningful. I don't know. I was trying to say thank you. It was meaningful. So thank you for that. I'm gonna open up Facebook, but turn the volume down. So if you're on Facebook, good morning. Say good morning. Don't be shy. If you are gonna watch on Facebook, yo, I just realized like how much of the coverage of the Jamal Sutherland case, how like. And not to censor myself because it's such a huge issue. It's such a huge, thing that's impacting people way more directly and way more real ways than just Tamika covering it. But I will say this, and I think those who are engaging with this issue, however you're engaging, whether you're trying to distill it for folks, whether you're trying to actually create actions, this stuff is not easy to get through. This stuff is not easy to talk about. Talking about extrajudicial killings is not easy. Like, I think that's that goes without saying, I guess. But it started to weigh on me this morning as I was doing my routine around finding information that I think is pertinent, finding information that I think it needs to be amplified or shared. And so I'm just acknowledging that to you, that I am looking forward to not getting over this, because we're not going to ever get over this. We haven't even begun to fight for people like Jason Cooper, so many countless others whose names have kind of been pushed at least to the fore of my consciousness, right? The forefront of my consciousness in recent weeks. So the fight is a long one, but I'm going to acknowledge that, y'all, I'm exhausted by this issue. I sat with my parents yesterday in our ritual of watching the Andy Griffith Show. And we had like this conversation about this whole issue, and it just was exhausting. And I just kept asking my parents about the 60s, about the 50s, and seeing my parents compete for whose vantage point was more accurate, from North Carolina or from South Carolina. But just talking to them about it, it felt like a relief, a release and a relief, because, and hear me out, because they survived. Does that make sense? I spoke about this on maybe at work or in some other area. I spoke about how like those who survived Jim Crow, like the Jim Crow survivorship experience is something that we discount and we don't necessarily honor enough. I know I didn't even have that lens that my parents are Jim Crow refugees. I'm the daughter of Jim Crow refugees, and that story of my parents and many others' parents and grandparents and great grandparents, their stories of survivorship is not looked to as significant. And it is. My parents lived through apartheid, if you can imagine, right? It's just, I don't know. I think the fact that my parents lived through a time where similar things happened, they happened in sometimes more explicit ways and more visceral ways, but then sometimes it's almost like parallel, like the things that they contended with. Good morning, Jazz on Facebook. The thing that they contended with are things that we're still seeing. So I don't know. I just there was some hope in saying, you know what, when my parents are 70 and 80, they survived. We're going to get through this, right? And they didn't just survive, they thrived too, right? I had a really great I had a good childhood in terms of provisions and where I was raised in Tinton Falls in Monmouth County, New Jersey. They got out of the South. They left the South, to pursue better opportunities, and they were able to do that. So yeah, I don't know. Just thinking about that, thinking about the Black experience and the Black Southern experience, and how we don't really honor the survivorship of folks who've come out of that time. So that was just something I sat with. So give some, and I, what I thought about? I thought about Mrs. Amy Sutherland. Like, I know she's getting a lot of cameras in her face. I know she's been invited to a lot of meetings. I really do hope people wrap her up with care. I hope people are providing for her, not just money. And and I'm sure she's getting people bringing things over and making sure that she's taken care of. But I really do hope something we didn't see after the Mother Emanuel massacre. We didn't see that attention paid to PTSD. We didn't see attention paid to providing that needed care to help folks heal. We didn't see that. At least I didn't see enough of that. And so hopefully, she's now part of an unfortunate group of women who lost their Black child to the hands of law enforcement. She's in this really, really sad club, and I hope people are wrapping her up in healing care, and not just giving her platforms. I hope they really do offer her the care she needs. She's talking about mental health. She's talking about what's not available. Well, she's going to need some of those resources that were denied Jamal, right? And I don't want to speak on her too much. I'm just saying she will need resources that are not readily available in this area, in this immediate area. Black people are not magical creatures. We don't just internalize all this pain. We don't just take all of this and just move along. We survive, and we are resilient, and we've learned how to navigate this white supremacist world, this white supremacist these systems, right? We've learned how to navigate them, but we're just as human, just as frail, just as vulnerable as anyone else. And so we need care. And no matter how much we protest and shout and scream and demand justice, we need care. And I'll always just make sure that we start. I saw it in real time, and I saw it unfortunately during the primary season. I saw folks exploit the survivors of the Mother Emanuel massacre. I saw people exploit them for photo ops, and God knows how much care they need, how much love they need. And one woman literally stood up at a Joe Biden town hall and said she had PTSD. And as he offered a hug, a well-timed, well-placed hug, you saw the cameras just flock and get that shot. And I'm like, I hope his campaign aide came back around at the end and said, hey, we've got some resources for you. I hope that the Democrats who set that up came back and said, hey, we've got some resources for you. Anyway, that's been on my mind. Good morning, Kate. Good morning, Kat on Facebook. Good morning, Meg, D. Bartlett. Yep. All right, let's get to it. Just want to spend some time saying that. All right, let's see. Boom. All right, so shout out to Charleston weather. Let me hit refresh. Beautiful week of weather, y'all. Beautiful week of weather. 61 degrees currently in Charleston. All right, wear your sunscreen. All right, it's going to be mostly sunny, comfortably warm again. Oh, this is Thursday. What's today's date, y'all? Because I'll lose a whole day. And today, why does it say Thursday? You better get it together. Let me see. Don't make me have to go to weatherchannel.com, Jared. Y'all still there? What day is it? Dead ass. All right. Let's see. Today. Charleston. 68 degrees right now. Sunny. High 80. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, thank you. All right. Deep Barley, I'm dead. I'm like, yo, what day is it? I will lose that. Last week, I lost a whole day. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, Wednesday just got, okay. I'm about to say, I'm just gonna hop onto the newspaper. That would have like helped me out a lot. But thank you, D. Bartlett. So yeah, 68 degrees. Jared must be going through some things. He's grassroots. Y'all still support Jared. I just want to give y'all the weather. 68 degrees today. You know it's gonna be a high around 80. Look like 78 in the. Oh wow, it's gonna get hot. Wait, that sunscreen. All right, close that out. Let's hop over to last night something kooky was happening. Good morning, Jennifer on Facebook. Good morning, Brienne. Jennifer, good morning. Thank you for joining Mic'd Up. Something kooky happened yesterday. A lot of y'all got alerts on the phone. I did not get an alert for some reason. My parents did, but 911 was down. Their phone service even went down for a second. And so what the hell? Oh, and so something really kooky happened yesterday. Yeah. Following hours of long outage. It was so hopefully everything is cool now. I'm not going to dig into that. That's not what I want to talk about. Black artist in residence at Columbia Gallery awoken, detained by police in his apartment. What? Let me just click on this. What the hell? Who wrote this? Jordan Lawrence. I don't know who that is. Oh, this is the Free Times. Black artist in residence at Columbia Gallery awoken, detained by police in his apartment. A black artist in residence at Columbia Gallery says police officers burst inside his provided apartment with guns drawn while he was in bed and offered no explanation before detaining him on the early morning of May 17th. Before I can explain anything, they got me in handcuffs, said the artist John Sims, whose art attacks the symbolism of the Confederate flag. Sims was detained for approximately 8 minutes and handcuffed approximately 6 inside his apartment at 7. Okay, we don't need all that. According to the body cam footage provided, Okay, so Free Times got their hand on that. What the hell? Hold on, let me take care of business over here on Twitch. That's really sad to see. Yeah, okay. Wow. No crime? Oh, we're going to be tracking that story. That's sad to see that. Let's head to the front page of the Post and Courier real quick so we can get a handle on local news. Here we go. Let's get a... I'm over on Twitch. All right. Let's take a look at what's featured on the front page of the Post and Courier. Good morning, Mr. Abe Jenkins. Good morning. We're about to get into it. All right. So this is yesterday, the first round of the PGA event took place, the PGA Championship. All right. Oh, also yesterday, the hurricane, you can see at the top of the paper right here, NOAA released their projections for hurricane season, which I'm not, thrilled about, but hey, we don't fight and combat climate change hardly enough. So yeah, Kiowa doing his thing. Again, keep your eye on the front page of the Post and Courier. Making all our tourist guests feel very safe. Feel very, very, very safe and comforted. Okay, it's like turning into like what the USA Today. The USA Today has some really good reporting, but y'all know how that feels when you get that paper. No, the USA Today give you real news. They don't try to sidestep it. So, this is something, Jessica, you sent me some links yesterday regarding tasers and use of force that I'm definitely going to try to dig into. But I want to hop over to something that came up on, let's hop over to Live 5 News. We're still seeing members of the Republican Party like Nancy Mace still work to politicize this issue with Jamal Sutherland. And so yesterday, again, we already heard from her directly yesterday, but she made another statement. It looks like that aired on Live 5 News. Let's see if there's a...
was arrested at a mental health center for assault and later repeatedly tased at the Charleston County Jail.
He died outside his jail cell.
Now, this all happened back on January 5th. So why are we just now hearing about it?
Our Lowcountry Congresswoman tells our Carter Coyle it was a major failure of transparency.
Sheriff Kristen Graziano was sworn into office on January 4th of this year, the day before an inmate named Jamal Sutherland died in the Charleston County Jail. The sheriff's office sent this email to Live 5 and other media outlets that said detention deputies reported a, quote, unresponsive inmate who was pronounced deceased inside the facility. The email said, per protocol, SLED was notified, and per policy, 2 deputies were on leave, but there was no mention of tasers or any other force being used, nothing about the man being mentally ill.
That is incredibly misleading.
Representative Nancy Mace has been...
I don't know what she's wearing. This is how the sheriff, and I've been very vocal about her actions following Jamal's death. I think I'm not agreeing with Nancy Mace. It's just an obvious observation. It was bungled from the beginning, right? But that bungling and that lack of recovery after that really has me scratching my head. Yesterday, I had a text correspondence with the local leader about how possibly it seems like Graziano has frozen out a lot of black leadership. Now, y'all know I'm critical of black leadership here. There are great leaders here. Don't get me wrong. There are great leaders who are not double dipping, who are not working with the police and, working against the community and with the community. There are some that are just doing the Lord's work out here, but it seems as if there are not enough competent cultural messengers around Sheriff Graziano to help her navigate this. And by that, I mean, you should have had, not even just black people. I don't want to just make this about African Americans, but she should have had someone close to her help her navigate this way better. But it sounds like she's frozen out black leadership. And like I said yesterday, there were no prominent black elected officials at this press conference. There, right, you can see right here, I'm going to use my arrow right here. You see all the way to the far right, that's Lydia Cotton, who worked to get Al Cannon reelected. So you don't, and then off camera you don't see, but Ben Pogue is off camera, and then in the audience, what you don't see, you see this the area Charleston Dems were there as well, but you just don't see that type of support or that type of leadership weighing in on this, which is interesting because this now has become almost exclusively a partisan issue now. So let's let Nancy keep talking.
And a vocal critic of how Sheriff Graziano is handling the Sutherland case.
This is not a time to learn on the job.
Live 5 tried to get the details as soon as we learned about Sutherland's death.
She got nerve.
On January 5th.
There's so many hot take on Nancy Mace when she was a state rep. Some of the dumbest things she ever did and said on the state floor. So she got nerve to talk about learning on the job.
We filed this Freedom of Information Act request for any video or reports about what happened. We got this report 3 days later, written by a deputy who apparently wasn't there when Sutherland died.
What?
His short narrative said that he was told an inmate failed to respond to resuscitation measures.
See, this is all unforced errors. And like I said, so Graziano for some reason entered into a non-disclosure agreement, and we don't know all of the facts around why, when yet, right? But she entered into this agreement, and I think she thought it's going to buy her time. What she underestimated was what folks were going to do to hold that against her. So she signed an agreement that supposedly, allegedly, according to Mark Pepper and them, was binding and preventing her from speaking. I would say that you can honor the NDA if it was that legally binding. You can honor the NDA and speak to what happened. And she dropped the ball. The reporting was just really, really shoddy. Let me go back a little bit because I'm talking over some key points.
Request for any video or reports about what happened. We got this report
Good
3
morning,
days later,
Trudy. Good morning,
written by
Kim.
a deputy who apparently wasn't there when Sutherland died. His short narrative said that he was told an inmate failed to respond to resuscitation measures.
Yeah, to put out that report, and I'm just learning this for the first time, that was the first incident report that the sheriff put out. It is incredibly dishonest and misleading to do that to our community, and it's wrong.
Last week, 5 months after...
She do look like Snow White. Look, if this was the man, I'd be doing the same thing. I always talk about soup cuts, like what kind of cut they got, and like this. She's just so distracting with some of this stuff. Like it's just so I don't even notice. I couldn't tell you what AOC wore unless it was on the cover of a magazine or something. And I thought, oh, that was nice. I couldn't tell you what shit. I can't tell you what Liz Cheney wore, right? But this woman just is distracting. She's so annoying. And then see those puff sleeves. Again, another seasonally inappropriate choice.
his death, the sheriff released this video that showed exactly what happened on January 5th. It seems Jamal Sutherland was clutching a spoon and refused to leave his cell for his bond hearing. Body camera footage showed 2 deputies tased him repeatedly and dragged him from his cell. Despite multiple medical workers trying CPR, Sutherland died.
But the fact that it took Sheriff Graziano almost 5 months to have a press conference on this horrific event that happened in the detention center.
Now, some Dems are going to hear this and think that she's an ally. Some Dems are going to hear this and think that Nancy Mace is a friend of us, right? And this is how she does it. She comes out on an easy, so this is just an easy stance, right? This is an easy stance to take. Someone died. We saw the horrific footage, and they totally just, they did not follow protocol. They did not administer any type of compassionate care for Jamal, who had an underlying mental health issue, right? But some people are going to come out and see this and be like, "Oh yeah, you know, no." But what she's saying is what people like myself and other activists have been saying for months. Have a press conference. Come forward. Let us know the details. We've been saying it. Y'all have been emailing Scarlett Wilson. Y'all have been asking Kristen Graziano shit. Kristen shot off what she sent me. The last text she sent me. You don't know all the facts, right? Like you shooting me. You don't know all the facts. Like, Sweetie Bop, go ahead and release some facts that wouldn't and to me, I was like, I don't know what would happen if she broke the NDA. What, they would sue the sheriff's department? What would happen if she broke the NDA? We don't even know, and I still scratch my head as to why a sheriff, an elected sheriff, would sign an NDA or sign any NDA. Why would the sheriff's office sign any NDA that would prevent the sheriff from disclosing not any specific information about but like some broad strokes, like have a presser. And even if you came forward and say, I cannot discuss this at this time. I cannot discuss this at this time. I cannot discuss this at this time. Even if you had your legal counsel with you, like that's what you typically would see, that you would have some sort of legal counsel with you as you and your PR person, Mr. Was that Antonio, right? Have those 2 people flanking you as you provide comment. You didn't even do that. And I think you could have done that and still honored the NDA, which is, again, very curious as to why you can't answer questions, basic questions about what happened. I don't think that a statement of fact would slow up the investigation, like confirming time of death, confirming who died, confirming his age, confirming perhaps the mental health aspect. You could have come out and confirmed that, and you could have pledged to the public, Sheriff Graziano, you could have pledged to the public what you want to do to get to the bottom of this. You didn't do that. It's an unforced error, and you keep making mistakes. And now you've got Summy, you've got a whole host of GOP operatives and those who worked hard to get Al Cannon reelected but failed. Now you have them coming out to scapegoat just you, when it is a whole system failure, right? And this is the delicate line I gotta watch, because I'm so angry at the response. I'm so angry at Graziano's response, but I don't want to be complicit in that scapegoating of her, because it's not just her. It wasn't just her. It was a system created by Al Cannon. It was a culture of a gratuitous force that Al Cannon set in motion after being the sheriff for over 30 years, for most of my life. He was the sheriff at this detention center. So, like, it's not just that. It's the mental health facility, which we're about to get into as well. And it's just like, come on. Like, I don't, it's this delicate line. I'm infuriated by Graziano and the sheriff's department's lack of adequate response. And I'm infuriated that now we have people like Nancy Mace coming out here in these puff sleeves talking brazy.
That she leads is this event is a test of character and a test of truth, and she has failed on both counts.
In January, the sheriff's office denied our request for video footage.
I see you, Jennifer, on Facebook.
You
ain't lying.
Since it's an active investigation. We asked again in April. We were denied again, this time pending the SLED investigation. SLED also denied our FOIA request for their report in this case.
And they always do.
What was their response? It's a pending investigation? That's not a legitimate legal response.
Communication law expert Jay Bender says just because a case is under investigation does not mean that information and video and reports can't be released. He believes that excuse is used far too often by law enforcement agencies.
By delaying the release of the video and delaying the response to the incident, the sheriff only heightens the suspicion that there's a cover-up, that something's gone wrong inside the department and nobody's going to be held accountable.
Since last week, our investigative team has filed at least 10 FOIA requests with state and local agencies to continue investigating Sutherland's death.
And it's very clear, the more that I learn through your reporting, and I appreciate your in-depth reporting on this issue, but the more that we learn, the worse it gets, and it's unacceptable.
For Live 5 Investigates, I'm Carter Coyle.
And in response to this story, the sheriff's office told us.
That's what I was talking when I said Antonio, Roger Antonio, the spokesperson for the sheriff's department.
Today, the initial report was not the final detailed report, as the case was immediately turned over to an independent agency.
And we know SLED is not an independent agency. We know that. Shout out Washington Post.
To begin an investigation. The deputies were directed not to proceed as SLED became the primary investigating agency.
I hope that... it's infuriating. There's 9 seconds left. Let me just
The solicitor still investigating the Sutherland case to decide if any charges could be brought against those two deputies.
Yeah, we'll pack a lunch waiting for that, right? So like right now, like I'm looking at the chat here on Twitch. Yep, Whiskey Neat, it was a layup for Nancy Mace. It was a layup for that whole entire system that she was running against, right? Right, Evelyn, you said big words for Mace. Yeah. Justin, you were talking about you think you missed the other party in the NDA. Sheriff Graziano, she posted, and this is a thing. It was like that was curious too. Let me see. Why Krispy Kreme came up? I definitely never Googled Krispy Kreme. Why is that coming up? Sorry, it's not a funny topic. I don't know why it was. Oh God, this is not working. I downloaded it too. She had disclosed a portion of the front page of the NDA. That ain't gonna help. She had disclosed the front portion of the NDA. Let me see. No. She had disclosed the front page, the cover sheet of it to the press. But it was between. So Justin, this is where it gets sticky. The lawyer for the family, because they are currently in mediation with the county, suing the county, I guess a civil suit, and so the lawyer had Graziano had the county and Graziano enter into this agreement with the family. So that if my recollection is correct, on the top you saw Mark Pepper's law firm and the family represented. And I have it probably in my phone, but I don't want to rummage through that. But like, yeah, so it was between the county and the sheriff's department and the family and Mark Pepper's law firm, right? It's just Evelyn, you went on to say she's wanting to talk about truth and transparency. Absolutely, like pot calling the kettle black for sure. All right, I'm gonna hop off of that, and I want to get to. I titled this live. Before going live, I included that there was breaking news yesterday about and we talked about some of this. This came out Wednesday, but yesterday is when I kind of had time to talk more about the mental health aspect or learn more about what they had to say. Mental health facility CEO breaks silence, ex-employees shed light. A lot of ex-employees are coming out. So let's just spend some time real quick on this, okay? It says, yeah, that's interesting for real, Justin. It says, for the first time, representatives have made public statement on behalf of the mental health facility where Jamal Sutherland was being cared for prior to his death. Sutherland, who suffered from schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, was receiving treatment at Palmetto before January 4th fight among patients and staff that led to his arrest by North Charleston police on a misdemeanor charge. Sutherland died the next morning after two deputies at the Charleston County Detention Center repeatedly shocked him with stun guns in an attempt to forcibly remove him from his cell to appear at bond court. This case led to intense scrutiny of policies and policies in place among staff. Scrutiny of policies in place among staff and police department. The jail at the Mental Health Institute, where the path to Sutherland's death is ultimately begun. ABC News 4 has reached out to multiple times to representatives of the Palmetto Low Country Behavioral Health for comment dating back months. And Wednesday, those requests were finally answered. Timothy Miller, the CEO of Palmetto Low Country Behavioral Health, Delaware-based parent company, Universal Health Services, said Wednesday afternoon UHS is limited in what it can say about the Sutherland case due to federal patient privacy laws, HIPAA. All right, so this is one quote from Miller. When the altercation occurred at the facility, our staff followed facility protocols and attempting to bring the situation under control. Police were called to further assist to protect the safety of our patients and staff. We are committed to, and that's it, that's where it stops. We are committed to our mission of providing quality care to patients with special and often complex mental health needs, including individuals who face psychiatric, behavioral, or emotional problems. Meanwhile, 4 former Palmetto employees told ABC News 4, remember Sinclair Station, just want to say that, Wednesday, but they've been doing some solid reporting. ABC News 4 Wednesday, staff safety was their number one concern when they were working there. The former employees spoke on the condition of anonymity. Over the last 5 years, North Charleston Police Department said they have received calls about security issues at Palmetto Low Country Behavioral Health, an average of once every 4 days. The calls resulted in 16 arrests, according to, I think I did review some of this yesterday, 16 arrests, or maybe, no, it was a conversation I had offline. The calls resulted in 16 arrests, according to police. That's unbelievable. This is how you criminalize mental health. This is literally how you criminalize mental health, okay? All right. Jamal Sutherland was one of those calls made in January, which ended in his arrest and ultimately his death. Sutherland was being treated for bipolar disorder and paranoid schizophrenia the night he was arrested for a misdemeanor assault. State health officials announced Tuesday that they are investigating Palmetto Low Country Behavioral Health in connection to Jamal Sutherland's incident. The South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, remember, DHEC has to weigh in on this as well. Again, Nancy Mace is going to be quick to tell you, Graziano. Let's start where it starts. Where he was receiving care. And why was someone with mental health issues arrested for going through what he was going through? Literally arrested for his symptoms. Right? It starts where it starts. Nancy Mace, if you really give a fuck, you'd really stop putting so much emphasis on that office, on that seat that y'all lost, and focus on actually the chain of custody and what happened. But you don't care about that. So we're not going to work to scapegoat you. We're not going to work, and we're not calling for scapegoat Graziano. We're not going to work to call for her resignation. No. We're gonna attack the system. We're gonna put the system within our sights. Okay. So yeah, DHEC has to weigh in on this, right? And we learned that yesterday when we watched that other video with the interview of Mrs. Amy Sutherland. All right, the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control says 21 complaints have been issued against the facility in the last 5 years. 21 complaints, y'all. The Sutherland case raises concerns about limited options for mental health treatment in the Charleston area. We heard Miss Amy Sutherland say yesterday, within the 50-mile radius, she was limited. There weren't any choices within a 50-mile radius. Right? Amy Sutherland, Jamal Sutherland's mother, said options were where to take her son during mental health crisis are limited. Right? And then she goes on, they go on to include that quote from her from yesterday. We don't have anywhere in the 50-mile radius where you can take your family member. Right. And she talked about how this is the family issue. It's the family disease. Right. So when he was arrested, officers were told to take him to jail instead of another secure treatment facility, according to Scott and North Charleston Mayor Keith Summey. Right. Scott said employees made the decision. See, now they're passing the buck. So Scott who's Scott? Wait. I guess that's one of the arresting officers. Or no, that's no. Who was that? Scott. They just said Scott. I guess that's one of the arresting officers. Okay, so and I'm gonna stop there. But you see where the breakdown in terms of what people could have done to respond to him in a more compassionate way, right? And then we heard about J.A. Moore, State Representative J.A. Moore mentioned there's a mobile crisis unit. Has anyone looked into that mobile crisis unit? Good morning, Kia. Has anyone looked into that mobile crisis unit? Let me see something. Charleston County. Good morning, Meg, on Facebook. I see you, Jim. Charleston County Mobile Crisis Unit. So why wasn't this called? Yeah. And we have NAMI right here, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Shout out to Kayla Gilchrist. Shout out to my girl Kayla Gilchrist if you're in town. Hey, Kayla, see you soon. Kayla, you also talk about NAMI, right? So, like, why? I'm gonna blow this up so y'all can see this. Why wasn't this called why didn't they call this assessment mobile crisis? Let's see what this is. Charleston Dorchester Mental Health Center, Exceptional Emergency Services, consists of so Charleston County, right? So in Dorchester, 24/7 psychiatric assessment team serving both Charleston and Dorchester counties. Unbelievable. Let me blow it up one more time. I can read it. Wow. So why weren't they called? Or did Palmetto call them? It says, okay, let me read it. Diverting individuals from local emergency departments when clinically appropriate by linking them more directly with the appropriate treatment. A/MC, so that's assessment and mobile crisis, is available to community 365 days a year to triage psychiatric needs and connect individuals to treatment resources. A/MC provides face-to-face assessments at our Charleston and Dorchester clinics on a walk-in basis Monday through Friday. Okay, let me see. Individuals seeking both urgent and routine, because there's a mobile component to this, correct? There's a mobile, right. Here it is. The EMS mobile crisis, and it says telehealth program. So there's a mobile crisis team. Here it is, the mobile crisis unit and the in-service training supplied by the CDMHC to the sheriff's officers is a tremendous benefit to the citizens of what the hell? So they knew this. The sheriff, see, this is what makes me mad. Okay, Meg, what you saying over here? Mobile crisis is 9 out of 10 times called by EMS paramedics. I don't know how often police use it. Thank you, Meg, for Meg/Jim for chiming in on Facebook. Let me look at Twitch over here. All right, Evelyn, you said earlier, well, I knew we'd find something bad about that center. It's really bad. It's really, you knew it was inevitable, right? Just how they responded to Jamal was like, huh? Right? All right, Jessica, you said you can excuse a lot of egregious stuff in the name of staff safety, whatever, right? That's exactly what that statement said. Exactly. Sounds like they could have been called at a number of different points along the way. Absolutely. This is sad. Like, his death was so avoidable. Jamal really did not everyone says that, but it almost feels like, oh, it didn't have to happen. It literally did not have to happen. It literally didn't have to happen. You have I'm sure this is an old quote, but you have Chief Deputy Guy Van Horn, an employee of the Charleston County Sheriff's Office for 30 years. So we don't even know if he's still in place. But he literally is quoted in saying the mobile crisis unit and the in-service training. And shout out to all the followers who were trying to tell me this earlier, but I couldn't grasp what they were saying. I don't know if they used the language mobile crisis unit, but someone said this from the jump. and I can't remember who said it, but someone offered that to me from the jump. Was like, no, Tamika, they could have called X, and I didn't know what they were talking about. And then when JA said it at the rally the other day, I'm like, well, what is this mobile crisis unit? Because you never heard anyone talk about it. You didn't hear the sheriff speak to it. You heard her talk about how her budget was slashed and how the detention center is the largest mental health facility in the county. You heard her talk about how many beds were there and how there's only one mental health professional to, I forgot the number of patients, right? And how it's just not enough. So you heard her speak to that. Why didn't they call the mobile crisis unit? Or like not even North Charleston PD should have called. Somebody should have called before it even got to the jail. Before it even got to Al Cannon. Good morning, Letitia. It's crazy. Oh, Jennifer, what did you say? You got something you saying on Facebook. Jennifer, mobile crisis comes to schools when students are in crisis. Mobile crisis takes them to the ER. Jennifer. Wow. Good morning, Kim. Oh, wow. This is heartbreaking because it could have been avoidable. Good morning, D. Okay, D, you're saying on Twitch, you're saying we used to contact mobile crisis through 211. Yeah, 211, other kinds of, absolutely. I remember that. I remember seeing like a card or something with 211 on it, like on either like it'd be on like a list of emergency, non-emergency, or, different types of alternatives to 911, 411, 211. Like Trident United Way had like had a bunch of like non-emergency, emergency type things. This is heartbreaking to know that this is in place in Charleston and Dorchester counties, and no one thought to call it. And that shows you that staff is not as trained as you would think. Because instead of calling the police, this is what I would have called. You're a whole health professional. Unbelievable. It's so sad. Yeah, the Jamal Sutherland news is starting to wane a lot. So, and again, and that's to be expected. And quite honestly, again, this is really tough to continuously engage with. A lot of this law and order stuff is very, very, very tough to engage with. Who damaged some beehives? That's some bullshit. All right. Let me see. I wanted to hop over to let me just Jessica, you sent me some things yesterday regarding force rule. Okay, so court ruling forces police in southern states to reconsider use of tasers. This is interesting. This is from NPR. This is from 2016. Okay. So I want to play a little bit of this sound real quick. Let's see if we hear anything in the first few minutes.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Key, a bank devoted to helping clients shape the future of healthcare. Helpful information about healthcare trends impacting your business is available at key.com/healthcaretrends.
Police in some states in the South are having to rethink how they use tasers. This after a federal court decision that affects the southeast of the country. The court said police can't tase someone just for being uncooperative.
Come on.
But as NPR's Martin Costi reports, police say that severely restricts their options.
This case comes out of an incident in Pinehurst, North Carolina, back in 2011. A mentally ill man was refusing to go to the hospital, and he was clinging to a signpost. To try to make him let go, the police tased him 5 times. He died a few minutes later.
By any reasonable standard, the force used in Pinehurst was unreasonable.
That's Sergeant Jonathan Puckett. He's the use of force trainer for the police department in Norfolk, Virginia. He says his officers...
Do we have a use of force trainer for our police department?
Not allowed to tase a passive resistor like this. But what troubles him is that this ruling goes further. He says it seems to be raising the threshold for when cops can use a taser.
This court decision says unless you're in imminent danger,
for real, D?
You can't use that taser.
The way Puckett understands the ruling, it means cops are no longer allowed to use tasers in low-threat situations. For instance, a nonviolent person who's already under arrest. If he tries to escape, he can't be tased. The Norfolk Police Department is still trying to figure out the practical applications of this ruling.
So thank you so much. I'm going to listen to this in full. It's a 3-minute story, but I don't want to, because it doesn't have a visual component, I don't want to play it too much, but like that's exactly what we need to be having a conversation about. And I want to know where this led to within our laws and our system, right? Right? It sounds reasonable to, right? Like, and you can't, and Jessica, you were trying to offer this up yesterday in the chat. You can't using tasers for compliance is a fundamentally flawed, even from a layman, it's a fundamentally flawed approach to get someone to get to a bond hearing. And in the case of Jamal Sutherland, he needed to be stabilized first. He needed his symptoms to subside. He needed to be able to brought back to a lucid state before you can even, like, why would you want that person in that frenzied state? Why would you want him to appear at a court hearing? Like, why just as a layman, as someone, maybe I'm not a mental health professional, but maybe I give a fuck about a human being. Maybe I care about someone on a very basic level. Why would you want someone in that type of condition to appear at a hearing when he's still telling you that he's hearing voices and other symptoms? And I just don't understand it. So why would a taser even like weigh into that, to try to like bring him in there? Then Jessica, you sent me another story. You sent me a lot of information that I got to pour over. This is from the Washington Post. Death spotlight use of tasers for pain compliance against the mentally ill. Shout out Jessica. You got a producer credit this week on the show. All right, this story is from November 15, right? Y'all know I'm gonna butcher this name. Matthew, let's call him Matthew A. Let's call him Matthew A. Had been acting strangely shortly before Savannah, Georgia police officers arrested him on suspicion of hitting his girlfriend outside of a convenience store last New Year's Day. Officers said he was combative. So after booking the 21-year-old Wells Fargo bank employee into the Chatham County Detention Center, a sheriff's deputy tasered Matthew A. In his abdominal area after he was handcuffed with his ankles bound. Yesterday we saw the same thing with the Ronald Green story. He was handcuffed and shackled face down, and that was in Louisiana. Wow. So they tased him in his abdomen area after he was handcuffed with his ankles bound. They left him in an isolation cell, and didn't check on him for at least 90 minutes in violation of department policy. When they did, he was dead. Wow. Matthew A. is one of 48 people who have died in the United States since January. Now, this is again back in 2015. Died since January. About one death a week in incidents in which police use tasers. Shout out to Evelyn, who put that in the chat, like, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, about tasers not being non-lethal. We cannot look at them as non-lethal options, right? So this is back in 2015. I definitely want to see the stat brought to the forefront. So back then it says the link between the use of tasers in the 48 deaths this year is unclear. Again, 2015. At least one of the deaths occurred when the incapacitated person fell and hit his head. Wow. So one person, but still, and shout out to Stephen Bowden, who also weighed in and say that there's so much involuntary body movement, right? Once your body is seized by these electric currents, you no longer have control over your body, and it spasms and moves. And one could only imagine what happens if you just convulse or, and ride around on, and hit yourself and hurt yourself further. Again, it's like aggravating the issue. Tasers is just not. It's just not the way. I'm going to read this too. I'm going to pour over so much of this information, but this is part of the conversation. Again, Nancy Mace, you care so much. Nancy Mace, you want to come out here looking like Snow White and without her 7 dwarfs. Won't you come and engage at the issue from a mental health standpoint, right? Won't you come and engage in this issue from the mental health standpoint instead of making this, instead of politicizing this? And someone should wrap her knuckles. Someone should wrap her knuckles very publicly about her politicizing this. Because that's all she's doing. She's got a laser focus on Graziano, right? So there was another, hold on, let me check out the chat real quick. I'm going to check out the chat. on Facebook as well. Let me see Twitch over here on Twitch. Let me see. Whiskey Neat, you said, and police obviously know taser impacts a person's ability to function and move. Right. Exactly. All right. And then he says not being able to use tasers severely restricts their options because violence is fundamental to their job. Yeah. Tasers are an instrument of torture. That's it. Period. Whiskey Neat, you co-sign what Evelyn said. Evelyn, you're saying that tasers are an instrument of torture. Period. Yeah, they're going to have to come up with other options because there are other police forces around the world who don't use the things and methods that we use here in America. Right? We jail more of our population than any other developed country. I'm going to say it one more time. We jail more of our population than any other developed country. And these other countries who are not hell-bent on incarcerating everybody, especially marginalized people, especially black people, right? These countries do things. They don't shoot at center mass if they do have to use a weapon, right? They don't shoot at center mass like how we train officers here to shoot at center mass, right? Like yesterday, we watched the the day before yesterday, we watched the Andrew Brown video of him trying to back up and evade police after they came in that pickup truck with those guns out, right? He's probably scared out of his mind. And like the reporter from CBS News said, well, why couldn't they shoot at the tires? Exactly. Like why? But these officers are trained to kill. They're trained to shoot to kill. They're trained to take. And in the case of Jamal Sutherland, we heard the officers admit to using the tasers and squeezing them, 3-4 times, right? Yeah. Let me see what happened on Facebook. Let me see everything there. Yeah. Meg, you say on Facebook, someone asked Nancy Mace if she knows the names of anyone else who's died. Thank you. She can't or she won't. I want her to name the name. I want Nancy Mace to name folks who died at Al Cannon during his time, and I'm still working on that number. Anybody out there want to do that research for me? I know that's not the most delightful thing to do, but if anyone out there wants to do the research on how many people died in Al Cannon, don't have to go back to the 80s. No, please don't go back to the 80s. But go. I started 2015. Start at Walter Scott, like the Washington Post. How many people either died? I know at least there have been people who died, like succumbing to heart attacks and whatnot. But like, find out how many people actually go back to 2000. From 2000 to 2020, how many people had some sort of medical incident at Al Cannon? Were their deaths recorded at Al Cannon? Someone do that research for me. I want to highlight this because I believe it features Letitia and Emily. Letitia Amara, shout out, and Emily Walter are both members of a coalition that I'm a part of, Justice for All Coalition. The Post and Courier has the podcast. It's not as great as my podcast, Mic'd Up, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and Google, and other places. It's not as good as Mic'd Up. Lately, Mic'd Up has been just this audio from these Twitch streams, so. But y'all, it's getting there. My podcast is good. I've done good work. Okay. Anyway, Post and Courier has a podcast called Understand SC, and it features an interview. I wanted to play a little bit from here, and see if we can get to Emily and Letitia. Did I say Latasha? Did I say Latasha like a bunch of times? If I did, I'm sorry. Letitia. I hope I didn't say Latasha. Let's go. Let's play this real quick.
Project is widely regarded state of utility after it lost 4.
No. Let's check.
Today we'll be going over some of the key facts that we know, the questions that still have not been answered, and how local activists are calling for change. Here's reporter Gregory Yee.
We got an email from Captain Roger Antonio, who is a spokesman for the sheriff's office, January 5th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. And this is verbatim what the press release says. Shortly after 10 this morning, detention deputies reported an unresponsive inmate at the Sheriff Al Cannon Detention Center. The inmate was pronounced deceased inside the facility. The coroner's office responded to the detention center. Per protocol, SLED was notified to conduct an inmate death investigation. Also, per policy, the Sheriff's Office of Professional Standards, is conducting an internal investigation into the matter and has placed 2 detention deputies on administrative leave with pay. The inmate has been incarcerated in the facility since yesterday.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward some of this.
That was the only information available that day. The next day, officials released Jamal Low Country Behavioral Health.
I hope they're not going to turn this into like a true crime podcast, like Serial or some shit. I don't know how her voice sounds like that.
After Sutherland, who'd been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia as a teenager, had been receiving treatment at Palmetto Low Country Behavioral Health. After a fight broke out at that facility January.
I'm sorry, I'm going to keep fast forwarding it.
Started putting some body cam.
Then I'm not trying to be silly, y'all. I'm not trying to be like focus on like little silly details, but didn't that sound like needlessly breathy? Like, wasn't that like a certain kind of affect? Evelyn, you weigh in. You really good at that kind of like. Didn't that sound like dramatically breathy? Like. Jessica, you low key just as messy as Kia. High key, low key. Do sound like why is it? I record in my closet all the time. This is my closet. Let me see. This is my closet right here. I record in that, but because of the walk-in closet, I can record in that thing all the time. I don't know where is Evelyn. You left. You probably messing around with them dogs. Evelyn, you need to.
Camera footage from North Charleston officers who responded to Palmetto the night of January the 4th.
It is with great sadness that I speak to you about the death.
On May 13th, the sheriff's office was in mediation talks with the family. As it got later and later into that evening and night, there were no statements and no videos.
Afternoon passed, evening passed. It's now, 9 p.m. It kind of looked like, okay, well,
I'm going to suggest that everyone listen to this podcast. This is the one time you're going to get me to, one of the few times you're going to get me to get, and I'll say this, there are a couple of episodes of Understand SC that are stellar. I am not going to hate on the Post and Courier to the point where I'm not going to be honest. There are episodes of Understand SC that are phenomenal. And I will talk about those at a later date as well. Everyone should listen to this episode of Understand SC after you already subscribe, share, and rate my podcast, Mic'd Up, on iTunes. I want you to go and listen to this Justice for Jamal episode. I'm trying to get to the point where we talk about where we hear Emily's voice or Letitia's voice. Let's
involved and kind of tried an excuse to arrest you.
We are here today
to
show
that sounds like
that this movement is organized. This movement has a purpose. This movement is smart.
That sound like
and
that
they
sound
wound
like
their
Jason.
way down to meeting in Broad, which.
So that's the rally that took place. That's the Stand as One rally that took place at 4 p.m. the other day. Again, trying to get to our coalition part.
This was just.
There she go, Letitia. Here we go. If you're listening, Evelyn, real quick on Twitch, you say it doesn't fit the topic. It does feel like it just feels like dramatic. Yeah, I don't know. Listen to a couple other episodes and see. It just sounds like just talk.
Disturbing to me because we always hear of the people that SCDC lists on their website as deceased, but they do not. We don't have any context of how they died. So this is all of our nightmares. This is the things that we dream about and that we hope we don't see.
Now, Letitia just talked about SCDC, and Letitia always reminds me that this issue transcends just like one branch of law enforcement. So it transcends just the county jail. This is happening, of course, it's happening in our jail systems throughout the state. And so I like that Letitia continuously brings that focus, that broader view, that if this is happening now, Cannon, Lord knows what's happening throughout the rest of the state at these other correctional facilities, right? And so that's something to ponder. So the last, I guess, 8 minutes of the podcast, that was Letitia. Let's see if they speak more with others.
My name is Letitia Imara. I'm the executive director of Black Liberation Fund here in Charleston, South Carolina. So I make the SCDC connection because The Alcana Detention Center is one of the 3 largest feeders for that system.
That's right.
We started the institution policing here. We're one of the biggest proponents of that institution here. And this is what they expect to do to our people while they're there. And that is in of itself is disturbing, even without the mental capacity part of it, because many people develop mental issues once they're in environments such as incarceration. And that's another thing that we're finding. They are becoming people who have anxiety and depression and all of these types of things just through being incarcerated, because it's not a normal atmosphere. It's a point where you lose all of your rights, and everybody is told not to believe you if you say anything. An inmate, was hogtied in McCormick County just last week. A few weeks before that, another inmate at Perry Correctional Facility was beaten senseless in front of the cafeteria with cameras. But they do not believe people when they say these things happen.
And shout out to the person who sent me an email talking about similar assaults happening at Alcana very recently.
They out-litigate, even though inmates are allowed to sue, they out-litigate them. So I say Jamal Sutherland for the local level, yes, we must fight and uplift these names here, because the greater part and parcel of it, when they go out to the other facilities, it just gets even worse. They don't count these people as people, and they're people.
The Black Liberation Fund is part of a coalition of grassroots organizations that has collectively put out a series of demands.
Yes.
They've called for the officers to be charged. They've also demanded an independent investigation of all of the facilities and agencies involved in Sutherland's case.
It's distracting.
Including Palmetto Low Country Behavior.
Okay, I'm going to stop it because I'm distracted. I don't know what it is. If you ever get to know me, I hate... I don't know why. It's probably generational too. Even the vocal fry thing, the more accurately, the dragging of syllables. When you drag syllables and do that annoys. I don't know why. It's like nails on a chalkboard. I'm weird. I'll lean into it. It's what it is. I gotta stop. I'm gonna switch the views because we're gonna shut it down. Good job, Letitia. Good job, as per usual. I'm always jotting notes as I'm watching you do your thing. But yeah, I just can't. Totes my goats. What is that? It's like the Gen X BS detector. Oh God, I just can't. Anyway, so listen to it. Don't be like me. Be a big girl. Be a big boy. Be a big person. Listen to this. This is probably one of the, again, there are a couple other episodes of Understand SC that are phenomenal, right? Understand SC is right here on the not right here. It was on the screen. Understand SC, but remember, D, make sure you go and you leave a comment and rate Mic'd Up from the Charleston Activist Network, and then go and listen to Understand SC. Listen to this episode now, because it is important, especially, and I'm being serious now, the reporting from Gregory Yee. Gregory Yee has been really on top of this. If it wasn't for Gregory Yee's reporting, I wouldn't have the facts to put things together, and his continual reporting. And I think there were other reporters, of course, brought in, but Gregory Yee has been the consistent voice, the constant on this story. And so to hear Gregory Yee actually talk and give you that timeline of details is critical. It's critically important to understanding this issue in all seriousness. And then you get the benefit of listening to Letitia and learning more about our coalition and our efforts. And yes, you will be getting an email newsletter today about that. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the streaming gods for no interruptions. I really appreciate all the concern. All of the y'all have been really just on it. Outside of the live streams, you have been some of y'all even made your way over here where I live. I appreciate you. Just really needed that type of, especially being fully inoculated and ready to talk and see people and touch and hug people. So shout out to everybody who's really been engaging with this issue in a substantive way, engaging with me. More information to come. I would say this: get ready this weekend. Get ready this weekend. Join me this weekend for a very special thing happening. That's all we're going to say. Hey, Julie Hussey, how you doing, Julie? You are a phenomenal host. Thank you. Let me not be that. You are a phenomenal host because you put yourself into the story. I'm trying not to, though. They are trying to put themselves outside of the story. I got you. But that is part of the dissonance that is systemically used to excuse the inexcusable. Julie, thank you for that. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Abe Jenkins, too, for your support, your kind words this week as well. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. And that's it. Yeah. Have a good weekend. I'll see you later. See you on Monday. All right. Bye.